In accordance with the rules of procedures, a second reading debate is adjourned and the bill is referred to the House Committee.
This Council resumes the second reading debate on the Companies Amendment Bill 2024. Mr. Ronald Chen. President, I speak in support of the Companies Amendment Bill 2024. The bill is about the new requirements in relation to listed companies holding shares bought back in Treasury, as well as promoting paperless corporate communication. Hong Kong people are all very familiar with HSBC. I declare that I do not hold any shares of this bank because the value of shares are undervalued, and every year it on the exchange and as well as in the open market buy back shares. If the timing of buying back shares is appropriate, listed companies can often send out a positive signal to the market to prevent that their shares are undervalued and that it is positive about the future of the company, and the value of shares can be kept at a good level. If the company concerned has negative reports and it is facing great financial pressure, then the result of buying back shares might not meet the expectation. Prior to the amendment of the bill, after buying back shares according to the company's ordinance, these shares have to be cancelled. These shares cannot be managed in a flexible manner. For example, used as allotment of shares to employees. This amendment will provide another option for listed companies so that they can better manage the values of their shares and repurchase shares, as well as manage the debt-to-equity ratio. Shareholders are concerned about the performance of listed companies as well as share values, and this amendment can enhance the attractiveness of the equity market of Hong Kong. I believe many Chinese-funded companies will consider buying back shares after the amendment of the bill. When I communicate with FSTB as well as the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, I learned that Chinese-funded companies normally buy back shares in open market, and these shareholders will not enjoy bonus shares, and the directors will hold more shares as a result. If there is any changes to shareholdings, it has to get the approval of the central authorities. Buying back shares by Chinese-funded companies, will they have to be declared? I hope the stock exchange will talk to the relevant Chinese-funded companies. In relation to amendment concerning paperless corporate communication, it responds to the trend. Most investors, including members of the public, are now very used to receiving information from listed companies in an electronic manner. Notifications in paper form is a waste of resources, and from an environmental protection perspective, these communication takes up a huge amount of resources, and it is unnecessary. As a smart city and as a city to strive to protect the environment, this kind of promotion of paperless communication should be sped up. I so submit I speak in support of the bill. Mr. Rock Chen. Deputy President, I speak in support of the Companies Amendment Bill 2024. We should set up a treasury shares mechanism and allow listed and unlisted companies to use paperless corporate communication. The framework will allow listed companies to have the flexibility to buy back shares and to enhance the competitiveness of the market. In relation to promoting paperless corporate communication, this will enhance the efficiency of disclosing information. Specifically, the bill sets up a treasury share regime, and this will allow listed companies to flexibly purchase, repurchase, and resell shares. In 2023, the SFC held a consultation on this, and we got a general supportive feedback. Normally, listed companies may buy back shares for reasons such as adjusting debt to equity ratio, increase earnings per share, facilitate the exit of shareholders, or signal to the market that their shares are undervalued. The amendment allows share issuers to have more flexibility and enhance the competitiveness of the market, enhance the appeal to investors. The amendment will also facilitate quality companies to set up shareholding companies in Hong Kong, and this will consolidate our status as an international financial center. According to the current law, companies that buy back shares must cancel the shares bought back. In recent years, different jurisdictions, including the mainland, the US, Singapore, Japan, and the UK, they have allowed locally incorporated companies to hold shares in treasury that are bought back. In order to allow listed companies to more flexibly manage their capital asset and capital shares, the amendment is in line with the global trend, and this also allows us to maintain our competitiveness. It is notable that this will facilitate the listed companies to manage their capital shares flexibly, and we also have to protect the interests of investors and enhance transparency. Regulators should enhance the requirements imposed on listed companies. After the amendment, listed companies must meet the relevant requirements and clearly disclose the method in managing the shares bought back so that investors can get the information that they should get. In relation to paperless corporate communication, the amendment allows listed and unlisted Hong Kong companies through the implied consent mechanism to release information on website without having to seek prior consent from shareholders. This is more efficient and environmentally friendly, and this helps save costs. However, I must stress that we have to make sure that all shareholders' interests will be protected. We will protect it, especially elderly people who do not often browse the internet. We should address the digital illiteracy of elderly people. Also, under the implied consent mechanism, if needed, shareholders or investors can ask for physical form of the corporate communication, and this is in line with the current practice. President, I speak in support of the amendment bill. Thank you.
Mr. Robert Lee. Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of the Companies Amendment Bill 2024. This allows Hong Kong companies to hold shares bought back in Treasury. This will also promote paperless corporate communication for both listed and unlisted Hong Kong companies. I'd like to make 2 points. One, to relax the shares bought back requirement in order to encourage shares bought back with a view to encouraging paperless corporate communication. For listed companies set up in Hong Kong, for them to hold shares bought back in Treasury, and for resale in the future, this allows companies to keep the right to cancel shares bought back. In AGM, they can vote in the meeting in order to receive dividends, and when they sell the shares bought back in Treasury, this will be resumed. The amendment to the law this time round is helpful in allowing more flexibility in asset and capital management. In addition, this will also make companies more proactive in holding shares bought back in Treasury. This will reduce the cost of allotment of new shares. As a result, more listed companies will be encouraged to hold shares bought back in Treasury. According to a task group on promoting liquidity of the shares market in the Policy Address 2023, Hong Kong X consulted the market. Following public consultation exercises, listing rules were amended to remove the requirement to cancel shares bought back. Subject to the laws of their places of incorporation and their constitutional documents, the amended listing rules came into effect in June 2024, except Hong Kong, say mainland China, Bermuda, Cayman Islands, and so on. Shares are allowed to be bought back in Treasury since June 2024, when the amended listing rules came into effect. Up till October, a total of 222 whole shares bought back in Treasury. Some companies did not benefit as a result of the existing Companies Ordinance. Therefore, I speak in support of the Companies Amendment Bill 2024 to allow companies to hold shares bought back in Treasury. This will allow companies to benefit. In the meantime, I hope the Hong Kong X to relax the limitation of 10% in relation to buying back shares. This will encourage listed companies to hold more shares bought back, and this will boost the equity market. Expediting the paperless stock market, rather the securities market, allow the companies to use the implied consent mechanism to make announcements on the company's website. There will also be sufficient measures to protect or safeguard the interests of shareholders. This will also be conducive to the promotion of paperless corporate communication. I support the implied consent mechanism, as using paperless corporate communication will increase the operational efficiency of a company. At the same time, I also urge regulators to expedite the implementation of paperless corporate communication. This will enhance the operational efficiency of financial institutions. Issuers, intermediaries in the market will also benefit from the paperless corporate communication. Better cost effectiveness could be achieved. Deputy President, I so submit. I speak in support of the bill. Mr. Edmund Wong. Thank you, Deputy President. The FSTB proposed the Companies Amendment Bill 2024. It seeks to amend the Companies Ordinance to enable listed companies incorporated in Hong Kong to hold shares bought back in Treasury and promote paperless rather to use the implied consent mechanism, say SMS messages as well as emails, to disseminate information in relation to the company. This is in line with the latest trend in the global market. This will also bring us on a par with other markets around the world. This is worth our support. Under the existing Companies Ordinance, after buying back shares, companies have to cancel the shares bought back, in order that listed companies and the relevant personnel will not be able to manipulate the market or benefit through insider dealings. However, holding shares bought back in Treasury will allow more flexible management of asset management. This will allow returning cash to shareholders, adjusting debt-to-equity ratio, and increasing earnings per share, for instance. Other jurisdictions allow the holding of shares bought back in Treasury. The selling and transferring of shares are also allowed. This makes our arrangement that is existing right now not up to date. Measures protecting minority shareholders, such as a no-sale period for 30 days, or 30 days before the announcement of the company's results, the purchase of stocks is not allowed. Whether cancellation or not, the holding, selling, and transferring of shares must be reported to the company's registry. Allowing companies to hold shares bought back in treasury will enhance the flexibility of asset management and capital management, and this can also guard against stock market manipulation and insider dealing. This is a win-win situation. At present, information technology develops in leaps and bounds. Allowing companies to use the implied consent mechanism to disseminate information through SMS messages to shareholders. This will allow companies to achieve paperless corporate communication. This is a global trend right now. For listed and non-listed companies, when they intend to use the implied consent mechanism, they will have to send a one-off notification to shareholders to inform them of the implied consent mechanism, where corporate communication is sent electronically. This will ensure that shareholders are kept informed of the paperless corporate communication model. A better balance could be struck as a result. I thank the FSTB for proposing this bill to allow the holding of shares bought back in treasury and the promotion of paperless corporate communication. I also hope that the government will continuously review the company's ordinance. Amendments should be made from time to time according to the prevailing situation so that the ordinance can be brought up to speed according to the market situation. As a result, we can enhance our competitiveness of the market. I support the bill. Thank you.
Does any other member wish to speak? If not, I now call upon the Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury to reply. Then the debate will come to a close. Secretary. Madam Deputy, first I'd like to thank members who have spoken in support of the Companies Amendment Bill 2024, the bill for short. The government endeavours to enhance the competitiveness of Hong Kong as an international business and financial centre and to provide an environment that facilitates business operations. The bill seeks to enable listed companies incorporated in Hong Kong to hold and dispose of shares bought back in Treasury and promote paperless corporate communication. Currently, listed companies may buy back shares for a variety of reasons, such as to return cash to shareholders, adjust debt-to-equity ratio, increase earnings per share, facilitate the exit of shareholders, or signal to the market that their shares are undervalued, etc. We propose to amend the company's ordinance to establish a treasury shares framework in Hong Kong to enable listed companies to hold shares bought back, sell or transfer treasury shares to manage their capital more flexibly. In places such as the mainland, Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, where listed companies in Hong Kong are also incorporated, the holding of treasury shares is allowed. Hence, the establishment of a treasury share framework is in line with international practice. This also attracts quality companies to incorporate their holding entities to apply for listing in Hong Kong, thereby enhancing the competitiveness of Hong Kong as an international financial centre. To guard against possible market misconduct arisen from buyback and disposal of treasury shares, the bill proposes to extend the approval requirements for the allotment of new shares in the company's ordinance to the sale and transfer of treasury shares. In addition, the Securities and Futures Ordinance and the amended listing rules will continue to provide safeguards against market misconduct. Regarding paperless corporate communication, the bill proposes to allow companies to adopt an implied consent mechanism for disseminating corporate communication by means of website. It also proposes sufficient safeguard to protect shareholder interest while facilitating digitalization and environmental protection. We propose to allow companies incorporated here to choose to adopt the implied consent mechanism for disseminating information by means of website. That is, if their articles of association contain a provision that they may disseminate information by means of website, they may do so without having to seek prior consent from each shareholder. For listed companies adopting the implied consent mechanism, we propose to obviate the need to send a separate notification to shareholders whenever a new communication is uploaded to their websites. The Hong Kong EX provides a service to send instant notifications of listed companies' information by email or mobile alerts. For unlisted companies adopting the mechanism, we propose to require them to obtain a one-off prior express consent individually from each shareholder before obviating the separate notification requirement. To safeguard shareholder interest, we propose that companies intending to adopt the implied consent mechanism be required to send a one-off notification to each shareholder to inform them of the relevant arrangement, including the website address and the implementation time for electronic dissemination of information by means of website. Shareholders may request free electronic copies. The new arrangement will come into operation 3 months after the gazettal of the amendment ordinance to give companies ample time to prepare. The company's registry will issue external circulars and guidelines to provide information to companies regarding the new arrangements of the Treasury Share Framework and the mechanism. Madam Deputy, I ask members to support the bill for the early implementation of Treasury Share Framework and the arrangement of paperless corporate communication. I so submit. Thank you. And I put the question to you that the Companies Amendment Bill 2024 be read the second time. Will those in favour please raise their hands? Those against? Please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by majority of members present. I declare the motion passed. Companies Amendment Bill 2024. This council now becomes